Hey guys, Furum here, and today I'm going to be testing the much-requested Aston Martin Vulcan in Asphalt 9 multiplayer. This is definitely the best multiplayer car that most people will have for a while because it is the starter A-Class car. And it is fairly easy to start up. As you can see, I have 4-starred mine. So my tuning is 11, 11, 11, 11, with a rank around 2950. You will pretty much never see any above 3000 because that would require more epic import parts than Gameloft has actually even given out so far. So I used this car quite a bit last season in conjunction with my 2-star Egoista, which I have already made a video out of. So the Vulcan at this rank goes 222 miles per hour with nitro. This is the fastest it can go because I do have all the import parts on top speed. Its acceleration is quite good, definitely above average, not to Egoista level, but better than say the LaFerrari or the P1 or the SCG or cars like that. Now here I catch up to these two guys and knock them both down almost right at the same time. Double knockdowns in Asphalt 9 are extremely rare. So the other two stats of the Vulcan, nitro efficiency and handling, are also very good. So basically this car is just very well-rounded in all respects, just like it was in Asphalt 8. And I can say driving this car in Asphalt 9 really does feel quite a bit like driving it in Asphalt 8. So that's quite interesting. I would say it's definitely one of the easiest cars to drive in Asphalt 9. And if you're a beginner in Asphalt 9 who does not have the Vulcan yet, once you get this car, you will see that it definitely does feel a lot better than the earlier cars in the game, and most of the later ones in the game after this car feel a lot like it. Obviously, there are exceptions, but the Vulcan is the bridge, basically, from starter car to supercar in Asphalt 9. So we round the final bend and come up to the finish line. Now, these races were recorded in the previous season, and in the current season, there are all 2-lap races, so likely my upcoming multiplayer videos will be with those 2-lap races. So here we beat 4 other 4-starred Aston Martin Vulcans and a Jaguar, who beat 3 of them. That's very interesting. In this race, we are facing 3 more 4-star Vulcans, yes, they are very common, as well as a Nissan GTR Nismo and an Egoista, which is at 1 star. So while a 2-star Egoista does start up quite faster than a 4-star Vulcan, a 1-star Egoista doesn't start up much faster at all, if any faster. The 1-star Egoista is still faster than a 4-star Vulcan, but if you're in a 4-star Vulcan, you don't have to worry especially much about them. If you've got some skill, you can beat them a lot of the time, because they're not all that much better. But 2-star Egoistas and beyond are going to be tough to beat. Now I know what you may be thinking, the Egoista can rarely be used in multiplayer, so how can the Vulcan compete against some cars that are more often usable in multiplayer seasons? So cars like the P1 or SCG are generally better than the Vulcan, even at 1 and especially 2 stars. This is due to their superior speed. However, a skilled 4-star Vulcan driver will often be able to beat them because it is easier to maintain speed in the Vulcan than in the P1, and the Vulcan accelerates faster than the SCG. So we are coming up to the end of this Scotland race. We have left everybody else behind, and we've actually met 2 other Legions United members in this race, 2 RPM members to be specific. Interestingly, the slow Nissan GTR Nismo came in second, and the Egoista came in behind him. This is unusual, and it would be even more so in a season like the one that's currently running that has 2 laps on all the races. Now the thing about this is, it gives cars with higher top speed more of an advantage. In past seasons, you could go out with an Acura or a GTR Nismo like we saw in the previous race and have a fairly good chance of beating some higher top speed cars simply because you get up to speed faster than them and sometimes they cannot catch up. However, on 2-lap races, there is a lot less chance of that, especially if you are in an Acura or something like that and you have an Icona on your tail. Well, even on a 1-lap race it would be difficult to beat him, but you probably could still do it. However, on a 2-lap race, it would be next to impossible, assuming he is a good driver. I have 2-starred my Icona and I hope to make a multiplayer video about it soon, as well as my 1-star Lycan. So we are hot on the tail of this other 4-star Vulcan. Now the car directly behind us is actually another Vulcan, and the Egoista is behind him. As you can see, they are definitely not impossible to stay ahead of. I really do hope they allow the Egoista to be used in some upcoming multiplayer seasons, because I would really hate to have spent 5,000 tokens on a car that you cannot use in multiplayer again. And that is honestly my fear right now, because while it's a great car, if you can't use the great car, then what's the point of having it? Of course, it does well for me in the expert races, but my 2-star Icona can probably get near the same times. I made a mistake in my Egoista video saying the Icona really couldn't do that, but it's a good bit faster, so it definitely can. And we are only 2 rating away from Legends League, so let's see what the cars were that we beat. So the car directly behind us was a 4-star Vulcan. In this race, we have 2 Vulcans, a 1-star Egoista, and a Ford GT. So now we will see how the Ford GT does against these 2 cars. The problem with the Ford is that even though it has a fairly high speed, its acceleration is not especially great, especially at lower stars. At 4 stars, yes, it's definitely better, but it's definitely still not up to Vulcan level in terms of proficiency in multiplayer. Now don't get me wrong, the Ford GT is not a bad car. It can get you to Legends League in a whole lot of seasons that it's available in. It's just that it will not be the best choice if Vulcans or higher cars than it are possible choices as well. If you would like to see how the Ford GT performs in a season where it was one of the best cars, check out my video about that not too long ago. The entire rest of this race is a very close battle between me and this Egoista here. We are both going pretty much the same routes, and so really it's just a matter of when we use different kinds of nitro and flat spinning and all that that will determine who will win the race. He lost a bit of speed back there, and so I managed to pull ahead of him. However, he is still right on my tail, and now if I lose speed anywhere, he's going to catch up to and pass me. Oh yeah, apparently my video about the comeback in my 3-star SCG that I uploaded recently inspired multiple people to also make videos of some epic comebacks that they may have had, and I will be happy to watch any that you guys make. Those are some of my favorite Asphalt 9 multiplayer videos. In this race, we reached Legend League, beating that Egoista and Ford GT. In this race, we are facing 3 other 4-star Vulcans as well as an Egoista. This is what the majority of my races up in Legend League were like. There would be maybe half to 3/4 of the players in the race be Vulcans, and then there'd be 1 or 2 other cars, usually an Egoista and maybe a Ford GT or something like that. But more Vulcans than anything. So here, this guy tries to 360 and knock me down, but somehow, even though he 360'd, I knocked him down. Maybe it's just because I was going faster, but that hardly ever happens to me. Usually, I get knocked down if anybody touches me. So, 3 down and 1 to go. So, I've got some people commenting on my previous videos saying that for them, they lose points every time they leave a race, and they don't get a free disconnect every 24 hours. I honestly have no idea what to tell you because I can pretty regularly leave once each day and not lose points, but the second time I always do. So I'm not sure what's going on there. One other little thing I'd like to mention, you guys know that I like making pretty much all of my cars purple that I can. Well, there's something weird where in the garage when I do that color, if I make it look normal purple, it ends up looking pink when it's in normal light on the track. Like here, this car almost looks pink even though it looks purple in the garage for me. So I always have to make it nearly blue in the garage if I want it to look purple on the road. So here we beat 3 other Aston Martin Vulcans as well as that poor Egoista. Not sure what happened to him. Now for a battle between me and a couple other Vulcans, a Ford GT, a LaFerrari, and a couple Egoistas. Now the light blue Vulcan, named Thatchy Glint or something like that, I have actually faced multiple times in the season especially, and he was a very good driver, so this race is one of my closest battles with him. There are some players that I really just enjoy racing against because they play clean, they're around my skill level, and they usually drive about the same car as me, so it really makes it a test of skill on whatever track we are on at the time. And those are some of my favorite races, and some people I've actually faced like a few races in a row, like 4 or 5 even, has happened before. And usually I end up winning some and he ends up winning some, so yeah, those are fun times. And then I'm sure we all have those people we try to avoid in multiplayer at all costs because they are those obnoxious types that just try to 360 you or everybody. I personally don't have anybody in particular that I know I'm still avoiding. However, there have been some people in the past that once I've raced them, I didn't really want to race them again for a while after that. So this guy behind me is Thatchy Glint. If you're watching this, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. That's just what it looks like. So we are coming up to the end here, go up this barrel roll, double tapping nitro, and we cross the finish line ahead of him. There were actually quite a few names I recognized in this race. Besides Thatchy Glint, we also had Neoflix, Pro Dimro, and Elite Engineer. Ah, Scotland, my least favorite track in Asphalt 9. not Asphalt 8. So in this race, we are facing a couple Vulcans as well as a fellow club member, FCA Agpied, in his 2-star Egoista. One reason I don't like Scotland is there are a lot of areas in it where I'm really not sure at all the fastest way to get through it. Like that turn there, do you really just go through it without using nitro at all and then shockwave into the ship, or do you flat spin into the ship? Because if you shockwave into the first ship, you have higher speed in the first ship but lower speed in the second ship because you don't have nitro, but if you flat spin into the first ship, you have lower speed in the first ship but higher speed in the second ship because you have nitro at the time. Did anybody get that? Oh yeah, and I also don't like barrel rolling up that barrel over to the right because oftentimes I don't even make it to that flat spin and instead I have to go the long way. So basically, Scotland just has a lot of routes and stuff that I'm not really confident about, and I'm sure as I play it more and watch more videos it will become easier, but for now, I really do not like playing on it. So we did manage to beat Agpied here, as well as a couple other Vulcans. Now in this next race, we have 5 Vulcans, including myself, and 2 Egoistas. Thankfully, the current season has a lot more variety in multiplayer. You have a lot of people playing with Asterions, SCGs, Iconas, Lycans, P1s, but in this previous season, you only had pretty much these 2 cars and that was almost it. And another reason besides car restrictions I believe Asphalt 9 multiplayer is more interesting than Asphalt 8 multiplayer is because Gameloft does different things with each season. Like, for example, there is a different requirement to get to Legends League in a lot of the different seasons. Like in the season with the Vulcans and Egoista, you had to get to 1800. However, in the current season with the Icona and Lycan in those cars, you only have to get to 1650. And that changes almost every season. Oftentimes it's 1800, but it can vary. Also, 2-lap races are a good variation from the always 1-lap races that we had before. However, I do think they need to make a voting system like in Asphalt 8 for people to choose 1 or 2 laps, because always having 1 lap or always having 2 laps in any given season makes it a little bit boring. That, I think, would be one of the best additions they could make to multiplayer at this time. So here we lost to Angelo Neto in his 2-star Egoista. However, we did beat another 2-star Egoista, and we still went up 1 rating, even coming in second. If I seem surprised about that, you'll understand when you get to above 1800 as well. It becomes very difficult to gain points, or at least many points, if you're not in first in each race. And another change to multiplayer that would make things more variable and better in my opinion is making it so that the highest rating players do not always get put in the back, as what happens now. Because this means they always, every single race, have to fight to get past everybody with a lower rating. I think that should be randomized like it is in Asphalt 8. So here we have come into first position, even with some issues near the beginning of the race, but we do have a few people not too far behind us. So I guess now it's time for me to give my general review of this car. It is a very good car. If you're a beginner and don't have it yet, go for it. Play daily car loot as often as you possibly can. Get this car as soon as you can. Start it up as soon as you can. It is amazing. It is useful in so many multiplayer seasons, and I would say it is probably one of the most useful cars in the entire game, because you can then use it not only in multiplayer, but also in the daily car loot to get an S-Class car. So it is basically just your standard, useful, fun to drive, easy to drive car that everybody likes. So in this race, we managed to beat Angelo Neto in his Egoista. Thank you all so much for watching. Please like the video if you've enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt 8 and Asphalt 9 content. Be sure to ring the bell, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!